Friday, June 13th, and it's 3:02 p.m. So I'd like to call the meeting of the Planning Commission to order, and we'll stand up for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, thank you. Roll call. To my left, Michael Anderson.
Here.
To my right, Jake.
Here.
And on our screen, we have Michel Bourgal. Thank you for joining us. I know it's a little late where you are, 9 o'clock, but I appreciate you taking the time to be with us and update us on some topics in a few. So welcome, Michel. Myself, Christian Pico, your chair. Jeannie Zroulas sends her excuses for missing this meeting. I will therefore, on her behalf, make a motion to approve the minutes from our last meeting dating May 16, 2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second the motion. Has everybody read them and we are good to adopt them?
We
all
are.
in favor?
Aye.
Great. All right. So thank you, Jolie, for doing those notes. They're always great. There's little editing required, and that's thanks to all the good effort you put in it. And they are circulated to the Board of Trustees who may not be listening, and they can at least read the notes in terms of the things that we're working on. Today, we're going to focus on 4 different topics. One will be the public safety for the wireless tower. We will then talk briefly about the Southampton Village Partnership efforts that are led by Jeannie. We'll talk briefly about some of the tree committee updates and the grant process that could help the tree committee, and then we'll talk about briefly the water tank project. So those are the 4 subjects for this afternoon. So let me hand it over to Michel. I'd ask Michel to address specifically some of the questions and concerns that had come up from village residents. And these are 1, Starlink, 2, node alternative to macro tower, and 3, the old 30-year-old concept of 5G radiation issues. So, Michel, thank you for joining us, and looking forward to your comment on all these.
Thank you, Christian. Can you hear me well?
Certainly.
Yes.
Okay. So this project started 2 years ago with regular updates and public hearings at the Planning Commission on a monthly basis, and a detailed public presentation to the Board of Trustees, a detailed article in the Southampton Press, propagation maps and siting exploration, a public request for proposal, etc. It's been extremely well flagged for 2 years. We're trying to solve a public safety issue for the fire department, the police department, and the ambulance department, with the public issue resolution, which is cell coverage and dropped calls, especially in the summer, as a positive byproduct of the more important public safety issue. First responders in the village use 3 modes of communications. 1, robust, tested, simple, instantaneous land mobile radio, walkie-talkies and 2-way radios, beepers on their belts. They're interconnected with many other first responder agencies on Long Island and the nearby communities. 2, they need internet access in their vehicles for maps, etc. And 3, they need cell phone reception, and we use mostly Verizon Frontline. All 3 are necessary for emergency communications to save lives and property. Diamond Communications was selected via a long public RFP process, started in the summer of 2023, so 2 years ago, to study our village wireless coverage. Both the Motorola LMR, land mobile radio coverage, and the separate cell phone coverage. Diamond Communication suggested we build a tower, and the best possible location has been chosen for optimal coverage and least intrusive as possible. Every available site in the village was evaluated by Diamond, over 40 of them, including coverage, signal penetration maps, and minimizing the proximity to residences. The public has recently raised the issue of why not install wireless communication nodes instead, also known as small cells, on top of existing PSENG wooden poles and also some new poles to be constructed where there are no PSENG wooden poles. But the nodes do not offer LMR antennas for first responders. So it doesn't work.
Yeah.
Nodes will probably come to Southampton Village anyway, because there will be coverage, cellular coverage gaps. And it's a federal mandate that people like Crown Castle and other builders of these small cell equipment be allowed to put in their equipment. It's a federal mandate. We cannot resist it. For example, Crown Castle is currently starting to install 200 small cell in East Hampton, starting this fall. And that's in addition of the many existing East Hampton cell towers. The nodes are useful to improve capacity and handle volume, especially in the summertime. But they have only a 500 feet radius coverage. So imagine how many nodes you need to have coverage in a 6.5 square mile village. The macro cell towers have a 2 to 3 miles radius coverage. Nodes are an addition to cell towers to handle wireless traffic, not a replacement. Nodes alone cannot handle coverage nor the volume, but in the future, we will probably need both towers and nodes to handle the eventual demand, which is growing exponentially, as is the case in most municipalities in the US and around the world. In addition to the nodes antennas on top of the PSENG wooden poles, the metal cabinets containing the equipment at the base of the pole or mid-pole are rather large to accommodate the 2 or 3 carriers. Crown Castle has a partnership with T-Mobile, and currently the nodes are only offering T-Mobile coverage. So that doesn't solve for Verizon and doesn't solve for people who have AT&T. Ultimately, we understand that Crown Castle will accommodate the other carriers if they desire to get on their nodes, but it could take a long time and it's not a certainty. Nodes will also be probably more opposed visually by more people when installation is in front of the various homes in the neighborhoods. And I repeat, the nodes do not solve for the Motorola equipment for first responders. Another question raised recently is about the use of Starlink. So Starlink dishes can be installed on building roofs or on car roofs and offers internet access at a reasonable speed and price, particularly in areas where there is no or poor cell phone signal, as long as there's a clear view of the sky. It's a good complement to cellular service. And in case of emergency, it's a good backup. In fact, we have a Starlink equipment at the Southampton Police Department on Windmill Lane in case the normal internet access is interrupted. But remember, when somebody has an emergency and needs to call 911 from their home, from a car, from the beach, from anywhere in the village, they need cell phone coverage. So maybe in a few years, every cell phone on AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile will be able to directly communicate with satellites. It's not there. I tried recently when you had the little satellite sign on your telephone and you can do an SOS. It didn't work. There was an article about the ambulance department in Riverhead testing Starlink, so I spoke with the guy who was interviewed. One test vehicle has been using Starlink for a few months. It's a personal vehicle, not an ambulance. And indeed, vehicles can be equipped with a Starlink dish on the roof, connected via a cable through a slightly open window to a Starlink router inside the car, which is then plugged for power in the cigar lighter. And then this creates a Wi-Fi network inside the car, allowing a cell phone, a tablet connection within the car through that Wi-Fi coverage. But it doesn't solve for LMR, and it doesn't solve for the public trying to place a 911 call. And also, as soon as a first responder moves out of his Starlink-equipped car's Wi-Fi coverage, he loses connection. So Starlink, again, is a good thing. It's getting better. It's a good complement. We have it at the police department, and over time, it may be more and more useful. We did a balloon test performed at the height of the tower, 125 feet, on the 20th of April. A big red balloon was flown for 4 or 5 hours to show the public the height of the tower. Diamond Communication has presented their application to the Planning Board on May 5th, to the ARB on May 12th, and to the ZBA on May 13th. And they will present again to all 3 boards. Diamond Communication is bearing the cost of building the tower, which typically is around $500,000. They will also issue a large check to the village upon obtaining the building permits. And once all the 3 or 4 carriers are up on the tower, the village will receive 50% of the annual rent for 25 years, which is approximately $70,000 per year to the village, with an annual escalator. The Motorola land mobile radio equipment for the first responder will sit on top of the tower and is free of charge. That's my update. Thank you.
Thank you, Michel. This is very exhaustive. Any question, Michael, Jake, on or comments that were shared?
I think between the technology and the emergency impact, it's more than reasonable that this needs to be passed and approved.
Okay, Mike?
Michelle, can you discuss how is the process going with the 3 boards that have to approve this? Has it been going smoothly? Has there been resistance with the community, or can you give us a little color on that?
So the Diamond Communication presented to the 3 boards. There were a few questions by the public which are being addressed. And so Diamond Communications will come back with answers to all the questions from the public in the next few weeks or months.
Great.
Let me give a little more color to that answer, Michael, and everyone else. some issues were raised during these land use board hearings about could Starlink be an alternative, which is what Michelle addressed, and in what circumstances Starlink is useful and how it is unfortunately not an alternative. Other questions were brought up about could nodes be an alternative to a macro tower? Those were questions from the Public and Land Use Board hearings, and Michelle answered that. There were another one or two letters to the local press asking for this project to pause, where people have raised concern about 5G radiation. Michelle, do you want to address that?
Oh, I mean, the 5G radiation subject has been beaten to death for 30 years. There has been multiple studies and actual experience that it's not an issue. Diamond Communication addressed the issue publicly at one of their board meetings. If somebody's interested, they can read on the web. There's numerous studies demonstrating that it is not an issue.
All right, thank you. That's helpful. I will add that there is 5G propagation on top of the hospital. So if you're that concerned about 5G radiation, maybe you should not go to the hospital. And let's remember, hospitals are made out of doctors who kind of know what's going on in the medical profession. Hopefully, they do. And we do propagate 5G from the top of the hospital. I will also say that whether it's New York, Boston, Miami, Chicago, Los Angeles, San Diego, every one of these cities have 5G propagation at every corner of the streets. So if you're that concerned with 5G propagation, you shouldn't go to these cities either. No, I think, thank you for the point that you've made, but I wanted to make sure we addressed it because it has come up with residents who are asking questions legitimately, still concerned 30 years later about this, but we needed to consciously answer those questions of residents' concerns.
Mm-hmm.
And also the location of the tower is nowhere near in high density per square mile at all, compared to high densities like in Miami, Boston, New York City, and whatnot.
So you're right, because previous projects for this tower really had the back of the SVPD as a site. And a lot of residents concerned, particularly in Cooper's Farm area, that it was too close. Where it is today, proposal today is really, as you say, there are no residents around there. So this issue of 5G radiation or location is really, from that perspective, a very good one because it's away from any residence proximity. It's in the back of the firehouse across from Chippy's on Windmill Lane. It's outside, just outside the historical district. And yes, as Michelle pointed out, the Diamond Communication, along with ourselves, we looked at all 40 sites, and not only just propagation, best location. To solve the issue, it's a good location because it's outside the historical district, because it's and nowhere near houses. The base will be hidden in the front by the firehouse and in the back by proper landscaping, which the zoning board actually, I forget which one, land use board correctly came back and said, we want to see those plans, which I know they've have worked on and will present in order to hide the base. But yeah, the big impact and the big question is the visual pollution, because we're going to see it. And it's not the best site, but it's the reality of what needs to be done. It's the best location. I mean, that's, unfortunately, this visual pollution is the price to pay for the safety of our resident, the safety of our first responders, and the ability for people to make calls, particularly in the summer. There's one last aspect, Michelle, which you didn't bring up and we really didn't spend any time on it. Let's talk a bit about the internet access in the home. Today, it's a monopoly, and you only can get it from Optimum. And they priced it pretty high. Tomorrow, you're going to be able to get one of these, what are called, I forget what they call, Michelle, the 5G boxes. When this tower is up and running, you're going to be able to get internet in your house from this 5G box. It's not going to have to come from cable. It'll come straight from the tower into your home. For those of you who live in and around the hospital, I know some of them have already done that, and it works. Others will be able to do it throughout the village. The price is half of what Optimum is offering you for the same speed, half. So this asset, once it goes up, has many, many advantages. It's going to break a monopoly and offer a resident cheaper internet, as effective as Optimum is providing. That's a plus. It's going to allow them to make phone calls, to reach 911 or their friends to make dinner plans, and it's going to allow for our first responders to be able to respond to emergency properly without running risk of miscommunication. So these are all of the pluses. The one minus is the visual impairment or pollution, however you want to term it. Michelle, anything else?
I think your point is very well taken. That's what's called fixed wireless to the home is taking off very quickly, where you have a box, instead of connected to your fiber or your coax cable, you get the internet through wireless, and it works very, very well. People in the village have it already, and it's going to bring competition to this market, yes.
Yeah, competition, and it's half the price. Now, of course, you could also get internet in the home with Starlink. Right now, they're offering the equipment for free. There's a promotion until the end of the month. You can forego the $350 to get the little Starlink, it's about this big, receiver. But it's $80 per month residential, which is a bit more what you're going to be paying for Optimum for 200 megabytes per second in your home. But the point is, what you were describing is that it'll allow choice for residents for internet in the home, and that's something we didn't talk about, and I wanted to give it as the cherry on the cake, if you will. All right, thank you.
Christian, thank you.
But thank you, Michelle. This is really comprehensive and a lot of detail. So thank you for taking the time, Michelle. Great presentation.
One thing I wanted to add before we move on, I recently attended a few meetings of the town of Southampton, and they're finally moving forward with the approval process for the two towers that they're building, one at the end of Inlet, where the commercial fishermen are, and one at the transfer station on Major's Path. And so these two towers, complemented by the one we are proposing, will bring serious improvement to coverage, not only in the village, but in the far reaches of the village, at the end of Meadow Lane, and when you start driving a little further north of the highway.
Okay. And as you pointed out earlier, East Hampton has a master plan for wireless that is very well developed. We all spoke with the East Hampton folks in charge of this deployment. And what we found interesting is, as you mentioned, the deployment of Crown Castle nodes, and all they're going to bring to East Hampton residents through nodes is going to be access for T-Mobile, and it's not going to solve for East Hampton, at least on the node solution, anything for Verizon and AT&T, which is basically 75% of the residents who use these two carriers. All it's going to do is
the subject, we should add that the village of Southampton has not sat without thinking about this federal mandate to build nodes in the right-of-ways. And we amended the village code a year ago in order to allow the village a say in where these small cells are placed, so that it's not an operator like Crown Castle who just decides unilaterally where to place them. We amended the code to maintain some ability to direct them or forbid them in certain areas which are not appropriate.
Okay. Before we close the topic, any final questions, comments?
No,
No? Okay.
thank you.
Thank you, Michelle. There was one in the back room, one small corrections is that the electrical asset, the poles, actually LIPA poles and not PSEG. PSEG is the distributor, LIPA is the asset owner, is that right?
That's correct.
Yeah, I want to make sure Mr. Anderson's comment was on the record. He is correct. But anyway, thank you for that. No, this is great. All right, let me move on to Southampton Village Partnership. This would normally be covered by Jeannie as Drulas, who is herding the cats around this project. As an update, some of the things that we have done is to think about enlarging the mission a bit of the Southampton Village Partnership and including not just businesses. The idea originally was to find a way to bolster the shoulder season. That's basically March to Memorial Day on one side and Tumbleweed Tuesday till Thanksgiving on the other. That was the mission of the Southampton Village, the SVP, Southampton Village Partnership. The idea is to broaden it a bit to encompass all of our residents, young ones, parents, and others, where we could, for a start, have a place, a digital kiosk, or otherwise known as a website, allow all of our residents to see what's going on in the village. All of the events provided by the Art Center, the Cultural Center, the Historical Museum, the library, and a number of other wonderful events that we have through the village year long. So we put a placeholder on the World Wide Web with a website by the name of shvnow.com, southamptonvillagenow.com, so shvnow.com. The idea is to work with the community to build this website, and it will be then a real center for all the arts, all the culture, all the events that are available for anyone of all ages within the village. So if you're a parent raising kids in the village and you don't know what to do with them on a Saturday night, you could see, or a Monday afternoon in terms of programming, including things that the Southampton Youth Association is doing, programming, as I said, library and other institutions, it'll all be in one repository. Because today, you can get the information, but you got to go to all these various websites to figure it out. So we want to make this a community center. We'd love to see, obviously, as it will grow in terms of traffic, and people will make this site their place to go to find out what's going on in the village for events. Businesses will see that traffic. Businesses will then come into the fold, and that will be a benefit for them, and it will draw traffic in to the community through that digital kiosk. So that's how we're thinking about it right now. Obviously, an association with the Chamber of Commerce would be great, though let's not forget that whilst they're using a village building, they're really there serving the town as a chamber, and it's going to be a question of whether we can work with them or not. We don't have to. It would benefit them, but that's really the path that the SVP is thinking about, and we'd love to get input from the community as to how to articulate this vision. And look, it's not a new one. This has been tried and tried and tried by many talented people in the community, and it's just regularly failed. So we're trying to learn from these failures and try to find the best path of least resistance to achieve something that can be helpful and positive for the community. Any questions on that?
No.
No? Okay. Thoughts?
So it's here to act as an aggregator of both business and cultural events.
Yeah.
Versus the silo from Southampton Cultural Center and the library and so on and so forth.
Right. That's the idea. So it'll serve a purpose for the resident and taxpayer, but it will also serve a purpose to get people 10, 20, 30 miles radius to come into the village because they see it as vibrant, they see all the events, and come and enjoy what the village has to offer, not only to its resident, but also to its visitors. That's really the intent. And that's how you're going to bolster those shoulder seasons we're talking about. That's the
Right.
concept. And you
An
know,
aggregator.
and aggregator is the right word. And the hope is that site could then finance itself and maybe even be a source of revenue as businesses will come in and advertise in it. That's one element of obviously revenue for it to be able to pay for someone to animate it and keep it up to date, etc. All right, so Michelle, any questions? Oh, I think Michelle has disappeared. At least her TVs are gone.
The signal is coming on and off.
He's there, but the signal's. All right, Michelle, I don't know if you can hear us. Any questions or thoughts on it?
No questions. I
No,
can
okay.
hear you. I can see you.
Great. All right. Next item, number 6 on the agenda, tree committee update, grant process. I put on the agenda Michael Anderson's name on it, but he wanted me to address it. It was a bit early. So let me just say this. Michael passed on to us last meeting on May 16 a sort of master plan for the tree committee, what they were thinking of doing, and asked us to look at the draft. I looked at it and I said, great plan, but what's not there is how we're going to pay for issues like tree inventory and what grants we could get. So I laid out in an email to Michael and the rest of this group the different avenues. One of them is through New York State DEC. Another one is through the federal government, USDA, as an example. And the third one is through not-for-profits like the New York State Urban Forestry Council as examples. I think the idea will first to maybe speak with the New York DEC, and particularly Division of Lands and Forestry up in Albany, to get some guidance from what some of the state grants or the DEC could be. And I think one needs to think about, well, what are you looking to solve for? And the real issue to start with, perhaps, is tree inventory. I think the tree committee been talking about tree inventories, Michael.
We have, yes.
And, how do you do this? How do you pay for it? How do you go about it?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not sure if you had any answers on it, but certainly those grants could help you not only get the money for it, but formulate a plan as to how to best get around it.
It's
So-
very, very expensive. We looked into it as the tree committee, and any plan from a private company is it's a lot of money. Where we were trying to think of doing it piecemeal, a little bit each year. But if we can get some of these grants, then possibly we could.
Accelerate, go faster.
Exactly.
Yeah, no, okay. So that's one way. So someone's gonna have to talk to the Division of Lands and Forestry, and I think the mayor has actually called on his deputy to do that. Federal grant, USDA's got some programs, as I said, New York State Urban Forestry Council has. So I gave a long list of different ways to get access to dollars to do this plan. But so that was my only sort of input to,
And thank you for that.
to,
because we will
to your piece.
We'll use that as a guide, and hopefully we'll get somewhere, because we did approach the grant writer several months ago, and the grant writer basically told us there's nothing out there
Oh.
to go to, so.
There's
it- this
plenty
might
out there, but you gotta help the grant writer, well, what is it that you want, and what are you trying to solve for first? So you gotta ask yourself, well, what are we trying? Sounds like I heard what you're trying to solve for is tree inventory first, so that you can plan around it. And that might be one way to finance it. This is a classic when it comes to Arbor Foundation members, like the Southampton Village question that every one of these members has around the nation as to how to solve for it. It's out there. All right, great. Water tank project. Quick update, Jake. This is your baby.
We had a brilliant presentation back on May 16th with the chief engineer, Timothy Kilcommons, who gave us different types of core and shell scenarios and the premise and the opportunities to build a 2 million additional water capacity core shell design, part above grade, part below grade, to augment our somewhat distressed Prospect Street location at the peak months of the year. We are, as a group, this coming Monday, going to the North Magi Street location and the Laurel Lake location to see as a case study opportunity. And as I was mentioning to Christian, I've been, and I think we all somewhat agree, I've been very happy with the way Suffolk County Water Authority has been proactive, looking for avenues of how to add capacity for benefit of sustainability and emergency use, both for the village and what really peeks out to the township as well, coupled with the fact that they have a very strong analytical ability of assessing wastewater management and water access capability in light of one of our parallel groups studying the water and sewage task as well. So I think these both kind of go hand in hand, and it's been wonderful working with the Suffolk County Water Authority. So I think we all look forward to the tour this coming Monday at noon.
Right, so I think from the planning commission, Jake, Michael Anderson and I will be on this field trip. We'll have the mayor with us.
We can carpool.
And that's
Get the
confirmed.
pickup truck.
We will have Steve Phillips, our superintendent of DPW, with us. We're gonna look at the site on North McGee and the layout, and look at the latest plan they provided us earlier this week, where they responded appropriately to the mayor's request to have sort of still the ability on the east side of the facility to go by. So they've sort of mapped this out the way the way we wanted it. Then we'll go to Laurel Lake by Medituck to see what it could look like, what it does look like. Similar example. And you guys, you're an engineer. You've looked at these things before, so you'll tell us what makes sense and what doesn't. So I'm glad both of you are going to that. So that's great. So that's it for that item.
Can you hear me?
Are we? Yes.
What?
Yeah, we
I
can
wanna
hear you,
add some-
Michelle. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
want to add something that struck me when we started to look at this water tank project, which is in the morning, in the summertime, when everybody's irrigating at night and early in the morning, we were told that in the morning, the water tank at Prospect was almost completely depleted, and if there was a fire, it was not clear if the fire department would have enough water. So that's what triggered, in a way, one of the reasons that triggered the need for an additional water tank.
Correct.
Yep. So not only would we add 2 million to capacity from the existing 1 million at West Prospect. It could also be a revenue source for the village. So again, it's one of those assets, deployment that's just win-win for the community, both in terms of public safety and in terms of budgets, revenue. All right.
And it's also a win for Suffolk County Water because they get to upgrade their system. So it is truly a win-win for both the village and
The
Suffolk County
utility,
Water.
yeah, you're right. Okay. Sage, anybody on Zoom that wants to, no? Thank you. Okay, so public comments section, so no one there, which is fine. I, look forward for residents and anyone to look at this video and come to our public meetings, either by Zoom or in presence. These are held on Fridays, third Friday, of the month, 3 p.m. So it's a good time for people to come and talk. And I would encourage people to express their views ahead of project formation rather than once something is baked to come in at the last minute. So I certainly would encourage, this is a great forum in terms of planning, forward thinking, and hearing from community residents what their thoughts are. Let me also say that, of course, we got elections coming up on the 20th of June. It's an annual festivity that we have every third week of June. So this is June 20th. What our village administrator, our village clerk had asked me to say is that they will be open tomorrow between 9 and 4. Saturday, June 14th, as they were last week, for any resident to submit absentee ballot application or completed ballots, want to vote or have questions. The office here in Village Hall for voting and general election services will be open tomorrow between the hours of 9 to 4. Any other comment, closing comment or discussion by Michelle or anyone? Oh, yes, we do have a member of the public who happens to be our deputy mayor. We had a question.
I have a question for Michelle. Getting back to the, I'm sorry?
You got to come to the mic. We're here.
Michelle, thank you for the report on the cell tower. Can you do you have any specifics with respect to the town and the 2 cell towers that are planned for, what the timing might be for those 2?
For the 2 macro towers or the nodes in East Hampton?
No. The town of Southampton's 2 cell towers.
Yeah. They are, I would say they are where we are. They are in front of the land boards. They have done an RFP. They have a tower builder, not the same as us. They have the locations. I would say, like us, it's probably another few months of permitting, and then probably a few months of additional planning, mobilizing, and construction. So
That's a change. That's a change from the last time we checked, when we thought that they weren't anywhere near the land use process.
yeah, they had in an article in the press maybe 2 years ago. It looked like they were about to build, and then for some reason they went quiet for literally a year and a half. But now they have re-accelerated, and they've been in front of their boards, and it looks like they're about on the same path as us.
Okay, thank you very much.
So they've had, I think, 2 meetings, Michelle, haven't they, with their planning board so far? 2 public sessions, right?
Correct.
And interestingly enough, the community, my understanding, Michelle, and I know you've attended them, I skimmed through them, but my understanding is that other than the location at the transfer station, which was too close to the road and residence, and they wanted to move it a bit to the east. There was a debate on the location within a few hundred feet as to where it should be. But there wasn't really any pushback from the community on either location, is what I think what I heard. Is that right, Michelle? And the community
Correct.
seemed to
I was there.
embrace this.
Yes, I was there. There was really no pushback, except you're right. At the transfer station, one resident wanted it to be a little further away from the road, correct?
Yeah.
But it's,
Well,
it's
it
you know,
is
the
desperately
location of the, yeah, exactly. And the location of these towers is dependent upon the propagation maps and the ability to clear the tree canopies and the ability to maximize the radius of coverage. So it's always a compromise as to where you end up building them.
Thank you.
All right, great. So, nothing further, and what I'd like to do is make a motion to adjourn this Planning Commission meeting of Friday, June the 13th, and schedule the next meeting for Friday, July 18th at 3 o'clock in this room, with possibly new appointed members of the Planning Commission, since two of us are terming out. This is our last meeting for this round, Michelle and I, and we'll see how people vote and how the next administration will appoint Planning Commission members. So with all this, I want to say good night and thank you.